Hi, welcome back everybody. I'm Lindsay and this is my channel, Lynn Does Investing. Today I bring you another guest on my channel. This is a guest, his name is Harrison, but he goes by Trey Better 99. And he's a member of our community, One Rent at a Time by Michael Suber. And I let him introduce himself. Hi, Harrison, how are you?
Hi, Lindsay. Great. Thank you so much for having me on today. Very glad to be here.
No, thank you. Thank you
Yeah.
for accepting my invitation.
Oh,
So
of course.
we met not too long ago, February, for the first time in person, and it was so funny because I've been seeing your screen name everywhere, but I didn't know who was the person behind it. Not to say that you're trying to remain anonymous, but if you don't mind sharing, why is your screen name Trey Better 99?
Sure. It's a mixture of things. So when I was creating a screen name, I was trying to figure something out, and this was in the beginning of the pandemic, and so I mean everyone was getting furloughed. I was thinking I might have to change jobs, and I was maybe thinking because I work in healthcare, I was like, oh, I might be leaving everything in general. So it's like, let's find a new trade. And then I said, oh, trade better. And then I was following stocks and not really real estate yet. That was more trying to figure out what I need to do if I need to actually become a blue collar worker. So I was like, okay, well, let's make it funny. Let's trade better. And then it was originally Trade Better 20 because it's 2020. And then later on, when it became when Zuber started his school community, I intentionally held out because I wanted to be member 100. I wanted to be like, celebrate everybody 100. It was at 98. I was like, okay, it's probably going to happen today. So let's go. And then, of course, 99, 10 minutes later, 100 kicked in. I was like, wow. And as you know, financial firefighter Mark, he made fun of me for a while. So he's like, yeah, guess what? You're Trade Better 99 now. So the name's stuck ever since.
Yeah, it has stuck, and then so everybody refers to you as that. But now we know your name's Harrison, so I
Mhm.
will be calling you Harrison from now on.
Please do. Yeah.
That's okay. So tell us a little bit about your market, where you do invest, and what is your real estate journey has looked like in the last, I don't know, few years.
Sure. I have always been interested in real estate mildly. It's one of those where probably the last 10 years I was like, oh, I'm going to buy a house. I'm married. That's what we do with these things. Just, don't buy the worst house but also don't buy the best house. Little stuff like that. Um, so fast forwarded to 2021 when I found Zuber because I was following the Reventure channel because I was like trying to time I was thinking timing the stock market. Let's time the housing market, and it's like it's gonna crash. It's gonna crash. It never crashed. It never went down. And so I was kind of getting a little frustrated at that. And then lo and behold, here was this pretty well put together gentleman and was talking about uh, the market's not going to go down and there's one rental at a time. And so I got into there and right when I was about to think about getting our first property, I actually got cancer. Yeah, so that kind of made two things happen. My wife was like, "Oh, let's put the brakes on," and I was like, "We don't know what I have here. This might be aggressive. We don't know what's going to happen." And she didn't understand our top stock portfolio, so I was going to cash out of that and say, "All right, if it's time to go, it's time to go. I'm gonna buy you a house at least near family, and then we're gonna go from there." So that was kind of like the first idea we bought in Virginia because that's where family is, and it's great because if anything did happen, she could rent this house out really easily, and we're actually in the idea of turning it into a duplex as well. Plans have been doing it, so at least it'll do really well. And then, but going back to your question, what happened after that was I got the bug. I was like, oh, this was fun. I really enjoyed buying this house, and I want to do it again. And so I saved a lot just by following Zuper's course. I was like, well, all right, I was stocks, but now let's do real estate, and kind of crawled into it. And 6 months after buying our first house, we bought our rental house in Akron, Ohio. And I bought it out there because I had a family out there who knows the area, and I've been there a few times. Also, I have a friend who also owns like 6 or 7 rentals out there, and he was gave me a good network to get started in. So it was good. So that's where I went to because I was looking more for cash flow over appreciation. I was Akron was one of those kind of forgotten cities in the country, and it's never going up, it's never going down, it's just kind of there, and it does well. Um, and so I actually just finished my first year on owning it, and so far not too bad bumps and not too many bad bumps and bruises. So it was like the first part because I knew it was going to be value add, and I had tenants in it, so I needed to make sure that they were happy relatively quickly because the house was not in the best shape. So, but right now it looks like we're going into year 2 really well.
Wow. Okay. That's incredible. So you learn you have cancer and you're like, I'm gonna buy a house?
Yep. Yep. That's how I did it. Um, it was one of those things. I went through the stages of grieving pretty fast because, I mean, it was one of those things where it's like throughout the year, I felt really I'm a very positive person in general, but this was the first time I've ever felt really dark. I was like, oh, this could be bad. And so I was just like, all right, let's get because buying a house takes a long time. And so the great thing was is that during that, like while I was going through chemo and everything, locked in on a great rate at 4.8 when things were like at the floating at 6 or 7. So I was like, awesome, we got that. And so that gave us some flexibility to purchase a house. And so I think literally I think within 3 months. And so after that, and that's actually right when I finished my last course of chemo, and we found the house that we wanted, closed like 20 days later. And I mean, yeah, and then it was great. It was finding out I was cancer free at the same time. So it was like it was all like a big blessing at the time. So it was kind of that kick in the pants that I needed. But it was just kind of funny that I just I didn't know what was going to happen to me, but I wanted to make sure my wife was okay. That was bar none, end of story. That's all I cared about. So
So you found you got the house that you wanted as an investment for the future, to something to leave behind to for your
yeah.
family. And
Yeah.
then you find the news that you're also cancer free.
Yeah.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
amazing. That's an incredible story.
Oh, thank you. It's one of those, it's just I call it a big blessing. It's one of those that, I'm very thankful for it every day. And so it's one of those where, with this house, it's always filled with a lot of love and positivity, and that I want to take that to our rental house. And so for the rentals that I next rentals I purchase, it's like I want to be that, I want to be fair to my tenants and everything, and I want to work with compassion at a calculated rate because I want to make sure that I'm not getting taken advantage of, but at the same time I want to make sure that we're having a good mutual relationship.
Yeah.
So
The relationship has to make sense and it has to be reasonable, right? And I
right,
think what I like about this community is like we're not trying to like squeeze every single dollar out of every house. We're like normal people. We work normal jobs. We spend money just like everybody else, and we save money, little by little, and then we just accumulate that, and then we're just trying to plan for a better future. And
yeah,
nobody's trying to like one over somebody or create this like landlord houses or rentals that you don't care for other than making money.
I agree with you. Yeah, it's one of those situations of I think Zuber taught us, and I think a lot of us naturally have it, is that we come from an abundance mindset. It's like there's plenty out there. There's a lot of potential out of there. And I think we should help each other out. And that was actually the great thing about meeting you, Jen, and the other ladies of where we're at was just like it's like, they always try and work together. And I mean, that's what I've really was encouraged by being in Vegas with everybody.
Mhm. Well, it was a pleasure meeting you in the Vegas event. We had a lot of fun. And, you were talking about your positivity, and it definitely translates when you're talking to people. So,
Oh,
um,
thanks.
that's, something else that to take out about your personality. But tell me a little bit more about yourself. What were you doing before real estate?
So before real estate, my W-2 is that I work in cancer research. I have been data analyst, kind of a data scientist, business intelligence analyst. Like I work with numbers. So numbers was really where I wanted to be. And so naturally gravitated towards stocks. Stocks was my all day, every day. I was in groups with it. So that's what I really enjoy doing. Um, that professionally anyways. And other than that, it's usually spending time with my wife, now daughter, and we're foodies, so we like try and go with all the uh local restaurants. We're not extravagant eaters, but we like finding like the nice, secret places that everyone talks about, and that's what we love doing.
Mm. Mhm.
Yeah.
So when you're doing stocks, what kind of investment strategy were you concentrating on, picking and choosing, or?
Oh, yeah. So yes, I was definitely I went deep. I basically go into a company, research it as much as I can as with data that's publicly available. And I also go one step more. It's following David Lynch, and then also there's the YouTube community Dumb Money and Chris Camillo. And what they do is that they do what's social arbitrage and also look at the news and seeing, well, what are people talking about? What's the flavor of the day? And especially in social media, that was the most important thing. Is like, what are people talking about? What's upsetting or what's the latest fashion? And so I mean, going through that, I mean, and for me, I like to be a wallflower, so I don't really comment a whole lot. Before I got onto one rental at a time, I just like reading everything. And so that was actually really exciting, and it kind of talking to other people, and actually went to Vegas for that as well. And you just kind of learn on how to read and understand the situation. And that's what I did relatively well for stocks. And so it was something that I was excited about, but it's also hard to recreate when you're going in cold. But I highly recommend it.
What are the difference that you see from like investing in the stock market, companies, shares
Yeah.
versus investing in rentals, like real estate?
So for real estate, you automatically have to have a long-term goal. It's no way. It's like I would say minimum 5 years. I mean, it's kind of funny because I'm looking at the Akron market right now. This is the first time I've ever said it's hot. It's moving like properties are moving fast. It's not the single families. I own a duplex, and multifamilies are just flying off the shelf above, and I'm like, I would love to sell this, but it's one of those I couldn't do it. I'm really happy with what we set up, and I would kick myself if I didn't do it. And so, but with stocks, I mean, just the market changes all the time, and especially with what I do is that I find when this when the song stops, when the story is no longer um hitting where it usually does. And so that's usually when I sell out of my stocks. And um I just follow that path, and but it can be a long road, but most of the time you're like looking at 6 months, maybe to a year max.
Mhm.
And I'm also with real estate, I can kind of, I don't want to say set it and forget it, but it's one of those that it doesn't require me being on the news as much as possible. So that's one thing I've really appreciated, is that I can actually kind of put the social media away because I'm not even on it for myself. I'm just there, and I can spend more time with family and friends. That's what I really enjoyed.
So you found real estate to be a little more passive than
Yes. Well,
stock analyzing
passive.
and trading.
Yeah, passive. It's one of those. It's that what I've learned more from real estate is that you have to be much more of a people person. It's like with stocks, it's like I could call people, talk to people that maybe work at businesses. I mean, I would go to malls. It's like and talk to the staff and say, "Hey, how does business look today? How's everything looking?" I'm sure gave me the weirdest work looks. They're like, "Why do you care?" And then, but when it comes to real estate, I mean, like I'm talking to the property manager and everything, and it feels a little bit more normal in that way. And but it's still, you're right. It's a little bit more passive, but still, I'm like managing the manager in that way, making sure that everything still gets done.
Mhm, mhm. That's so funny because I come from a background of stocks too, but in a
Yeah,
different way, not like trading short term whatsoever, just strictly investing in, index funds, the S&P 500,
right.
QQQ, but and then letting it be and forget it, right? Like that's my
Yeah,
long-term plan. That was my long-term plan. And coming to real estate, for me, it was not more passive, it was more active.
very true.
for sure.
Yeah,
And so you told us that you chose Virginia. That is where you were living, right? The first
right.
property that you are, and this is a rental property.
This is a primary property for now,
Okay.
but we bought it with the intention of renting it out eventually. It was
Mhm.
one of those where, yeah, it's just one of those. You could not have picked a perfect property because it even has a garage at the bottom, so you can convert into a small uh, one room unit and everything. So that was the idea behind it for us, and then we also it was like the idea of doing kind of the house hopping. So like live for a few years, go to the next spot, live in a few years, go to the next spot. So
Mhm, mhm.
yeah.
Okay. So that's a future possible rental for you.
Oh, it's a definite rental in the
Oh, it's
future.
already a rental.
It's not a rental yet, but it's going to be a rental.
Oh,
That's like right away we know what its intention is.
and I'm assuming you took advantage of that first home
Oh
loan.
yeah.
Yeah.
Actually no, we
Oh, no.
didn't need to. So then this is why we didn't invest in Virginia for the long term, like for buying exclusive rental properties, because we got such a good rate, but we had to put, I can't believe I'm saying this, 40% down for it to cash flow.
Oh, wow.
So it's like, and that's because when we moved to this area, so was the rest of the Northeast. And so everyone from New York, New Jersey, Boston, bringing that high income down here to good old Virginia, it's like, ooh. So there was um, the way that we got this house was that we were willing to wait 60 days for the seller to move. But the original, yeah, most other properties, they'd go 100, over asking. And we were just like, yeah, we're not about that. So,
This is 2021 when the market was hot or 2020?
no, this was 2023, believe it or not.
Oh, wow.
I mean, the market it was not as great as, yeah, back in 2021.
Hmm.
It was more just, I think everyone had had enough. I mean, so a lot of people who sold maybe 2021, 2022 were moving down this way because they're like, "Oh, I got my pile of money and like from selling my house and so I'm going somewhere cheaper to live." And Florida kind of got saturated, so people were then they went to North Carolina and then by 2023 they're up in Virginia. And so it was just it's like, "Yay." I mean, it's great. It's great business. It's a lot of people here, but it got crowded fast. So, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So then you decide to go out of state.
Yes, yeah, right away. It was just after we got our first property, it's like, yeah, I am not, yeah, we're not buying in Virginia again for the long term. And then yeah, Maskey Finance, he was the same thing. He got to talk to him for a little bit. He invested a little bit in the western side of Virginia area I used to live. He said sold out. So I was like, okay. So yeah, that's why I went to Ohio. It was like a market that I know that's a little bit more. Virginia's pretty landlord friendly, but I would say Ohio is more landlord friendly. So that was something I was looking for.
And you said that you had family there.
Yes, yeah. So family's been here all over the place, in yeah parts of Virginia, but also family in Pennsylvania and Ohio. So it's kind of like they're all in that kind of area. So.
Mm. And do you mind sharing the numbers of your first out of state property deal?
Oh yeah. Let's see. So the property sold for, I'm sorry, 130. And it went for sale at 142. So we already got a discount off that. We did the scopes, we did everything. We got, I think, a little bit over 6,000 more off of it because of everything that needed to be done. Right away, we knew that items needed to be done. I mean, and also ooh, we had an 8% because it's hard getting that was the hard part. So with those discounts, the loan all of a sudden went under 100,000.
Mhm.
So getting a loan was pretty difficult at a decent rate. So it was an 8.1, but at the same time, we're still cash flowing, geez, about 400 a month, which is, I mean, yeah, it's like that's the great thing about Ohio is that it is yeah, the cash flow is fantastic. You just have to be willing to understand what you're getting to, what you need. And so it's like, so I'm setting aside that for like fixes on certain parts of the property and saving up, of course. The roof is it's in its last decade, so things like that need to be done. But yeah, so it's one of those where it does cash flow well, but I'm also waiting for the other shoe to drop of when I need to spend it. So
Mhm.
yeah.
And then if you haven't heard it, guys, that was an 8.1% interest and it's
Yep.
still cash flowing. So what do you say to the people that say you can't buy property that cash flow nowadays with the
Oh,
interest?
you always can. There is always a way to cash flow. It's one of those is that it depends on your market, and it also depends on what you're really looking for. Is that for my market, single families did not cash flow at all. So I went to small multi, and it cash flows beautifully, and the tenants are happy with their rents. That's the really great thing.
Mhm. And you have a property manager.
Yes, yes. I spent the first few months as my own property manager, and it was fine. The hard part though was um, when the power goes out, the heating goes out, and then having being able to get someone quickly. That was always the hardest part, especially being out of state. Um, as great as my contacts were, they were just smaller groups, and then so with the property manager, if something goes out at 2 a.m., which it has. It's like, it's having that peace of mind that someone's there within the next few hours. So that's been really nice to have.
And how did that compromise went? Because I'm sure like first you were self-managing and you were enjoying that extra cash flow and now
Hmm.
you have to compromise that fee.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of those that when I was actually buying the property, I was kind of already planning a property manager fee into it. So I was just saying, no, like I was saying, let's try it out, let's figure it out. But it eventually was like, no, especially with everything that's going on, being a few states away, I just didn't feel like I was doing the best job.
Mm.
So, but I mean, it's one of those where, I mean, it cuts into the profits a little bit, but honestly, I'm not mad at that. It's because they're a great group. They make sure that I'm whole. They give me updates. I mean, and I just have one property with them right now, and they're still very open and consistent with me. So it's one of those. It's worth the money for me.
Yeah, I am with you. I have a full-time job and then I have a side hustle and then I have properties. So I definitely, when I went into real estate, I knew from the get-go, I don't have time to self-manage. I don't have time to, be on the phone and then answering the phone calls and then finding the last minute contractor. And then I'm doing it out of state. So it only makes sense
Right.
to get a property manager. And to me, it has proven to be such a great decision because my property manager can highly recommend it for other investors. And that's also that I learned that I kind of got lucky from other people's stories because even Michael Silver says that he fired his first five property managers and I, had a good experience. But you're a dad now. Congratulations. You have
Thank
a
you.
little baby. She's so precious.
Oh, thank
But
you.
how is it going now? It's a big change for you, right? Big change for your relationship, the state of mind that you're having, everything that has to be planned for a family now, family of three. How has your mindset changed in terms of real estate?
That's a great question. I was actually just thinking about that probably a few weeks ago. And has it changed my goal? No, but at the same time, is that I'm more intentional with my time now. Is that I had a lot more time to really surf social media or figure things out. But now it's kind of like what Zuber's saying is like you have 20 minutes a day, and that's what I'm doing now. Is that when I'm with the baby, feeding her, and then okay, let's scroll, let's see for the deals for the day right now, and just kind of figure that out. That's what I think her coming along has made. It's like I have to make everything intentional in the day because I'm very blasé about things. It's like, oh yeah, let's figure it out. Nah, do it later. It's fine. But now it's saying, nope. We're going to bed and it's 1 o'clock in the morning and we need to get stuff done. And so it's just it's not changed, but it still hasn't changed my story on how I want to eventually buy more properties and how I want to include her in it as well. And I mean, I'm not going to force her, but it's one of those, it's that I want to make sure that she doesn't have to run the same rat race that we did when we were younger, was saying, get the best grades, go to the best school, get the best job. It's like, no, 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 no. There's other ways on how to do this. And I want to take away that anxiety for her. Even though she's a newborn, it's one of those that I constantly think about for her.
Mm. Is that something that you grew up with? Like that anxiety of going to school, get that degree, get that job, move on?
Oh, it's kind of funny. So, having Asian tiger mom, not as bad as others, but it was like, and then growing up with dyslexia and dysgraphia, it's my time was pretty quick on you need to get the best grades. It's like, yeah, you're not going to be the best. We understand that. Just do your best. So I got pretty lucky. My brother, on the other hand, he was the very successful one in the family for school. So, um, and I mean, it was one of those pressures that you saw around everywhere. I realized just do the best that you can with what you have. And I think it's taught me to be a lot more resourceful. And honestly, I enjoy it. I think it's helped me enjoy learning. It's helped me enjoy other items, like in life. So I don't feel like I have to be successful because I was successful just graduating high school. So that was kind of the thing I was really excited about.
Awesome, awesome.
Yeah.
Wow, your story keeps growing.
Oh, thank you.
So, you still work your W-2. Is that how
Yeah.
you're funding your deals?
Yes. So that's how I'm funding it. Thankfully, my wife and I, we're not big spenders. We go on modest trips. We don't really do anything wild. And so that's the W-2s. We set aside cash for buying our next property. And then, yeah, we just try and find the next loans. Right now, with the way the market is, we're still lucky that we can find traditional funding, but we're also looking now at more because I want to grow faster with how everything's looking. I'm like, okay, well, what other deals can we get in financing? But yeah, it's one of those that I think that's the power of the W-2 of just it gives you more income. And honestly, I like my job. I like what I do. I like the fact that I can help people in different ways. It's like I could never become a doctor with my grades or a nurse practitioner because I was just not smart enough. That's why my wife was a nurse practitioner. And that's for me, it's like, well, I can work with numbers, analyze, and I can help people point to people in the right way. That's really what I think. And I don't think I will ever stop doing that.
Mhm, mhm. You guys have to work as a team. Is
Yes,
she supportive of the real estate journey?
that is a great question. So starting off, I think it was kind of the question of wait, so we're paying for a house that other people live in that we have to fix up. I think it's one of those things that for myself, that's why I was not crazy about real estate to begin with. It's just like I don't get to see the house, but I think as we've and she's been really helpful with the numbers and everything. So we go through everything monthly and make sure everything's adding up. And she's become a lot more supportive of it as the years have gone on. And I don't know if I'll say she loves it, but at the same time she sees the power of it and she sees the value of it. And she's like working on trying to become part of the community herself when she's ready. But it was it was hard to be in the beginning, but now she's seeing like especially me coming back from Vegas saying there's other people here and you're not going to be the only girl. I think that's always the one thing that I mean, I'm glad I met you and Jen and Katie because you all were like, "Hey, we're here. We do it." So it's like so
Yeah,
that's
would
been a
love
really
to
good
have your wife come on.
Oh yeah, I mean,
Join our Wednesday meetings at 8
I'm just saying that's she might pop up here in the future. So, but no, that's great. And so, and that I could not do it without her. At the end of the day, it's that it like you said, it's a we thing. It's a family endeavor, and I would not have done it without her. And if one day she says, "Cash it out, we're done," I'll have to, follow her on that. But as of now, she's really excited about what we're seeing as we grow.
a.m. And then I know talking to you during the Vegas event, you mentioned that you may step in then another market.
Yes. Ooh, yes. So that
How's
was
that going?
so I had right when I got home from Vegas, talked to Mark, Jack, Mikey, a lot of members of ORAT. And that's the great thing about having this community was that I am now officially in Pittsburgh. I've now really built into, I'm in my first 90 days, so I'm not going crazy. I'm not saying, oh, that looks good, let's buy it, because they've helped me on the idea of where to look, what a good deal can look like. But for me, it also becomes personal when you're looking at a market. It's like, would I be able to stomach it? Would I be, because I've learned things about, like, I thought Akron was old because it was one of those, like, oh yeah, you can buy early 1900s to mid 1900s house. You're like, oh, that's kind of old. Well, Pittsburgh, you get mid 1800s, and there's a whole plethora of different things. And it's like when I was researching houses and everything, there was something called terracotta pipes. I was like, clay pipes, that's a thing. That's a very big thing in Pittsburgh. And so it's doing all these, like, I've always been proponents of doing sewer scoping and other items like that. And now I have to be a lot more intentional for what I do. But it's great. I did my first tour about a week ago, virtually, and it
Mhm.
was not what I wanted. I mean, it's one of those that I also have to learn. I've also learned that there's a lot more flood zones in that area, so I have to be more careful of that. But it's helped me look at, okay, it may not be what I'm looking for or what I'm used to looking at, but it's helped me really understand, like, being in Akron, this 90 days has gone a lot faster because I know exactly the numbers right away, and then I can also at least kind of, with the help of everyone, try and figure out what a right deal looks like.
Mhm. And just so people know, what do you mean by the 90 days?
So the 90 days is that it's building a buy box right away. It's like, so when I say 90 days is that first one time, like, contact 3 or 4 realtors, which I did, and then ask them what they do and where they would not go. There's always like, oh yeah, I invest here, here, here. It's like, okay, but where do you not go? So I put that big X there in that map. And then so I have that starting right there. And then I kind of almost whittle down like where I'm looking at. And that's where I get, um, since I'm a developer, I basically scrape everything in Zillow, kind of pull it off and say, okay, this is what I'm looking for. This is what my criteria is. And then I kind of see what sells or what has sold, and then what's going to sell or what's on sale. And that's usually what my 90 days looks like. It's just kind of figure it out. And then like for my Akron house, it was, here we go. And then believe it or not, when I came onto this house, my realtor the same day was like, I found your house. And so it's just, so, and it's great because the realtors I'm working with, they're very similar. That's the other thing is that make sure you find a realtor that does investing as well because they can at least anticipate what you're looking for.
Mhm, mhm.
So that's been nice.
Awesome. And this is one of the techniques that Super recommends, right? Finding what
Yes.
an average deal looks like in your market. And this
Yes.
is why it's important. I always tell people one rental at a time is like, if you don't know anything about real estate, then this is where you're going to learn what's about real estate. And then we have so many different people in our community, people that are doing co-living, people that are doing long-term rentals, Airbnbs, mid-term rentals. There is just like so many people, and then people like you found, like you mentioned, Jack and Mark and Mikey, that are just willing to give you all the information that they learn, and some of the information they learn because they made these mistakes, and
Right.
now because they're telling us, we get to skip the mistakes, right? So
Right.
that's what the beauty about this community is.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I've really appreciated that because it saved me probably another 90 days of, oh, this is what we could do. And I mean, also helps me say, I've always been able to say no, but also the benefit of talking to people in the community of, well, what made you say no? Or you can, like, I've been showing them houses, like, what would you say to this? Or like, maybe or no. And so that's been really nice to have as well.
Hmm. And you need that. I feel like you need somebody like not to hold your hand, but let you know, like, hey, I've been doing it here and then also been doing it successfully, but this is what I would not do again. Right.
Right.
And then it's so powerful how that can help you just succeed in a market, in any market, I would think. But Harrison, where do you see yourself in the next 5 years?
Next five,
2030.
2030. So 5 years older. But also the goal is hopefully continue the process of getting one property a year. So right now, 2 for 2. So I'm going 3 for 3. So that's really my goal is hopefully have 10 doors by the end of it. And um, that would be my 8 was where I actually said, oh, I'll stop here as like for covering expenses for retirement. But I'm like, let's go for it. Let's go for 30. So I'm just, so
Let's
I'm
do it.
just, let's
300.
do it. So yeah. So the 5 years I'll be there. And then, I mean, hopefully, something happens in the market or nothing terrible, but that there's an opportunity to potentially get something more.
Right, to grow.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for coming on my channel and leaving you all your little purse and how you choose a market and what you're doing right now when choosing a new market.
Mhm.
I hope that you come back and I hope that you tell us more stories and, we'll see you around.
Thank you so much, Lindsay. Yeah, anytime. This is a great time with you. So thank you so much.
Thank you.